Okay, in my latest series of creative portraiture, this time I used some colored gels, but I did something a little different. Model Anait and I, we kind of looked for a sci-fi ninja assassin Blade Runner 2049 approach and came up with some of these shots. Now, the shots you're seeing right here, you might be saying, hey Mike, what's that background you're using for these? Well, that's what this video is all about. Hey everyone, it's Mike here from Mike McGee Photography. Okay, so as you saw in the intro, this is sort of a creative, futuristic vibe, but how did I do the background on those shots? How did I create it? Well, the answer is actually simple. It is a video projector, all right? So you may have seen one of these in your office. I wouldn't know, I've never had a real job, but in your office you might see a video projector, and that is actually what I used to project onto the white wall of my studio to create these futuristic backgrounds or abstract backgrounds that you're seeing right now. Now, this particular model is the Epson PowerLite 1945W. Do you have to get that one? No. But what I want to do is give you a couple of specs and a couple of things to look out for when you're buying a projector, if you want to pursue this as an option for backdrops, and some of the things to look for and some of the things that you might not need. So let's see, when this thing came out, it came out in like 2012, I believe, and it retailed, I think the actual MSRP was 1,700 bucks. Yeah, 1,700 bucks for this thing. Did I pay that? No. You know how much I paid? I paid about 120 bucks, I think, on eBay. Yeah, it was 120 bucks, and then there was a little bit of shipping in there. But yeah, it's used. It was discontinued like 2017, so they were just like thrown to probably, you know, retail outlets that just, you know, those computer resellers and things. So on eBay, I got this guy, the Epson 1945W, for, you know, about 120 to, with shipping, was, I think it was about 130 bucks total. And does it do 4K? No, it's only HD, but it won't matter. In fact, you might even want like a slightly blurred out background. You know, the way I particularly shoot, I like a little depth of field. I don't want it too sharp, especially if you have digital artifacts that might appear. So having it be a little blurrier, it's okay. This is just an HD model, but the key for this particular model that you want to look for is the amount of lumens. Now, lumens is the light output that any projector can have. So obviously the more lumens, the brighter it will get. And if it's bright, that will work better for a particular backdrop. So if you get one with, you know, you can look at specs and nerd specs and have like a high contrast ratio and all that stuff. Really, you want the lumens. You want to be able to project a nice bright backdrop, and you could even dial down the brightness if necessary, but most likely you're going to want to jack that up to the maximum brightness. So this particular model, I can punch up, let me see the actual specs on this thing. It has 4,200 lumens, so it's bright. And I always put it at the max power for the brightness. And so the procedure of how I do it is I simply go through a process of kind of finding some abstract images that would work. And for these shots that I did for this particular shoot, we were going with a teal orange look. So the backdrop that I thought would be nice would be some abstract orange images. So I went through and I found some nice abstract orange images, put them on a nice little USB stick, little thumb drive, pop it in the back and go. So because you're doing a USB drive, you don't need network access. Some of the 1945Ws have an optional Wi-Fi networking package, and you might think, oh, I can connect it to my laptop. You can, you don't need it. It's a waste of money, frankly. And another thing to look for are the bulb hours. Now, the ones on eBay in particular that have fewer bulb hours go for higher prices. Well, here's a little thing that I think is shady about that. In the menu, in like the main menu, you can easily just click advanced, reset the bulb hours back to 0, and I think everybody does that. So just find the cheapest one. And yes, if you have to replace a bulb, you'll have to replace a bulb, but I have a feeling you're not going to be using this doing PowerPoint presentations at work or anything like that. This is strictly for a small, limited use for certain types of creative photography, and you're going to be fine. So check eBay. Look for this is again the 1945W. You could pick a different model, but get one that has a nice amount of lumens. You probably don't want to go lower than this, and this packs a punch. So you don't need 4K, you don't need the Wi-Fi package, and more importantly, don't focus strictly on the bulb hours. Just get the cheapest one. All right, so I think the best type of photography how-to videos are ones that have less blah, 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 and have more of the actual demonstration and showing you exactly how to do it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pan out, I'm gonna go over here, I'm gonna set up the lights over there, and I'm gonna show you exactly how I did this shoot. I'm gonna show you the lens that I use, I'm gonna show you the power specs on the lights, where the positioning is, model, blah, blah, blah. So what I'm gonna do now is the next thing we're gonna see is how I set this up, and you're gonna take a look on a wide shot from my studio. All right, so although this looks like a PowerPoint presentation from hell, I swear that's not what this is. This is going to be the lighting setup that I use for the background, and here's the Epson 1945W. I have this just personally set up, if you can take a peek of this, I have it set up on a tethering stand, and just for safety precautions, I put a giant rubber band on there just because it has a tendency to maybe slip off and break. Want to be safe. So I have this set up, and as you notice, you'll probably see, hey, wait a minute, Mike, the screen is only like this big. That's not going to work. True. What you want to do is you're going to move the Epson projector back, and obviously if a model is standing right in front and you're shooting here, you can't have the projector right behind her, or otherwise it's just going to blast onto the model. So what you want to do is you want to have this projector off. I did camera right, so I had it off to the side and I had it quite a ways back. Now if I set it up like this, you won't be able to see me on camera, or you'll see me but you won't see the projector. So I wanted to have the projector just set up right here just to give you an idea of how it looks when it's on the tethering stand. Now, how do you load the images on there? Well, the goal is to get the absolute cheapest 1945W that you can. You don't need the Wi-Fi, you don't need network capabilities, you don't need anything. You know why? Because you're going to use a USB thumb drive. That's it. So at home, you're going to prepare and you're going to load in different images onto this thumb drive. Then you just pop in a little USB thumb drive and it will show up on screen. So this is the way I did it. You're welcome to do it any way that you would prefer, but I'm just going to show you a quick little summary of how I did it, and that just starts with popping this into the USB drive. So pop this USB slot, I should say. So now this is into the USB slot. I'm just going to stand over here just for a second, it just takes a while to read that USB device. Once it reads it, you're going to see, haha, well, now you have sections. And so I just did sections since I'm doing sort of abstract, what I call hypercolor images. I want the backgrounds to be, let's say, orange, and it'll have bokeh, and it'll have abstract neon and things like that. And then you can have pink, or you can have green. So I just separated them by color combinations. So you can do it any way you'd like, but that's how I did it. So for the shots I shot with Anait, I went with an orange backdrop because that was complementary to the color palette that we were going for. So all you have to do is just scroll through your menu items, and I'm going to select orange. Now, right off the bat, I should also let you know that it's not a good idea to just go to Google Images and just find any image and just pop it on here and create art. That's great. However, you have to remember somebody took those pictures, and that's copyrighted material by somebody else. So the way I did it is I went to a free open source stock photo site called Unisplash. There's plenty of them out there, but that's just the one that I went with, and I did some searches for like bokeh and neon and abstract and just images that I liked. So each image has its own rights that you have, so you want to investigate that on your own, but I'm just going to go ahead and assume that these are all copyright free and you can use them as they're open source. So keep that in mind though. So I'm just going to select, for example, one of these guys, and I'm going to select abstract whatever. Let's see. I don't even know what it is. So let's see. Once this punches up, drum roll please. Boom. Okay, that's one of the shots that I did with Anait, but it was vertical and I didn't like that. So you can see, maybe you can see at the bottom, if you hit the up or down, you can rotate. So I'm just going to rotate this guy. I just clicked bottom. Now I actually went the other direction, so I'm going to have to click it twice. And things are gonna look a little washed out because I have a light just to have some sort of light on my face during this video presentation. But imagine you want your studio to be as dark as possible. You don't want a lot of light that I'm using for this video purpose. You don't want that to spill onto the backdrop. You don't want ambient light to be on if you can get away with it. So reduce the amount of light in your studio at all costs, and that will enhance the brightness and vibrancy of the backdrop image. So right now, let's say we have this. All we have to do now is essentially move that backdrop back off to the camera right, and it will then enlarge, and things will get out of focus, things will get distorted. That's okay, because what happens is there's adjustments within the projector itself to sort of right the ship and sort of tweak the geometry of the image. But it's not really that important if you're going with abstract images. If it's all bokeh, let's say, and it's crooked, who cares? As long as it fills the viewfinder, that's really all you're looking for. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna position this off screen and have a nice large display. And you won't see this guy anymore, but now that you've seen sort of the projector in action, hopefully you get an idea of how I have it set up. Now we're gonna go back to that orange. Okay, I'm gonna pick like this bokeh orange. And that's one that I also shot with Anait. Now, there's some nice bokeh. Hopefully you can see that a little bit better now that the main lights are off. I can go ahead and I will kill this ambient light as well. I'm gonna go ahead and kill that. So let's see, I'm gonna kill all the ambient light in the room. So now just the projector is showing, and there you go. So that's the background for one of the shots that I shot with her that I found really worked well. And now that you kind of see the background setup, I'm gonna go ahead and I'll show you the lighting setup so that when you sort of add those layers of the cake together, it all comes into one cohesive image. All right, so here are the three basic pieces of the puzzle. We have our model today. This is going to be the mannequin that I use to dial in lighting setups. And we have a gridded strip box that's going to be the kicker light over there. I put an orange dome on this one, and it is a Digibee DB800 gridded strip box with the orange colored dome on that guy, and that is set to the lowest power possible. Now for the key light, I'm gonna move these lights as, I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. Now I also have a large octabox, the 47-inch octabox. This is a gridded octabox. I put a grid on that. Now, why do we have a grid on the key light? Well, again, this is a projector that is going to be the backdrop, so it's light. So you don't want a ton of light to spill onto the backdrop. It'll wash it out, it'll kill the vibe, right? So you wanna have this particular key light is going to be offset probably about 4 feet from the model, and it's gonna be upwards 45 degrees, angled down. I'm gonna feather it so it's not directly onto the model. Imagine that it's aimed a little bit like right here. So just that feathering will capture, maybe just the edge of the light is gonna hit the model's face. So you wanna have it feathered just a tad, but it's gonna be, you know, approximately 45 degrees high up, shooting down to capture, because we're basically shooting essentially like waist up, right? So that kicker light, obviously you can see, hey, wait a second, that's in the shot, that's destroying the backdrop. Got it, I just did this for demonstration purposes, so I'm gonna move that as far back as possible. And because it's orange, it's actually gonna work, because orange is very vibrant. Even though it's on the lowest power, it's going to have a lot of kick in that color. Shooting off that light. So I'm gonna move that back. I'm gonna move the key light into position, and we'll go from there. All right, so I'm back. You might see a hint of the teal. I don't know if you can even see it on camera, but let's go ahead and take a test shot. All right, here we go. Got a camera off screen. Yeah, and that's exactly the look that I'm going for. Okay, so I'm shooting at 1/160th of a second. I'm shooting at f2.2, and I have my ISO at 500. Now, positioning of lights, like I mentioned, that I moved that kicker light off screen, and I just moved it off as pretty much as far back away as I could in my small studio. And then it has pretty intense light, but if you need to move it even farther back to reduce that light, or I'm just gonna keep firing away because this works really well. And let me see what I'm dealing with right now. yeah, so this is that cinematic kind of bokeh that allows you to use the projector as a backdrop. Now, the beauty of the projector is, guess what? If we want to change the backdrop entirely, all I do is hit the button to go to the next slide. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the previous slide right here. It'll take a second to load through. There we go. And there's some abstract craziness going on right there. So I'm going to go ahead and pop one of these guys right here with the new backdrop. You'll be able to see that on screen. I'm just going to take like 2 or 3. There we go. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. All right, that's a nice shot. And really, you have almost unlimited options. Like this is another abstract image that I pulled. Just kind of has almost like a Blade Runner vibe. I'm gonna hit that. It really has kind of a sci-fi vibe, but again, that's particularly for this abstract teal orange combo. I mean, it really looks like that Blade Runner 2049 kind of vibe, or if you were in California when you had the fires from Oregon, that's exactly what it looked like here. So, needless to say, this is how I set up the shot with the projector as a backdrop. I'm gonna do one more series and I'm just gonna randomly hit the last little orange slide that I have to choose from. This one, oh yeah, that's the one that might take a little rotation. I'm gonna learn and rotate it the correct way this time. And there we go. So that's what I did when I was shooting with Anait, and she was a fantastic model, had kind of a sci-fi look to her with her styling, and we kind of had the envisioning of that from the start. So I kind of had the vibe of like ninja assassin then when she was shooting that, but yeah. So here you have it. All right, so that's pretty much it. Now for positioning and such, I'll put a graphic on screen to kind of give you a recap of the power and the camera settings, and also how about model placement? Well, model here is approximately, I'm gonna say 8 feet from the wall. I was shooting at about 7 feet away from the model. I was using an 85mm lens. It's actually 85mm prime. Once again, I was at f2.2, ISO was 1/60th of a second, and I had ISO at 500. Key light is approximately, I'm gonna say about 6 feet from the model. Upper, it's positioned up from the top about 45 degrees, so we're gonna feather that light a little bit. That's why we have a grid on that 47-inch octabox. I'm using Digibes by Paul C. Buff for both my lights. Key light set to lowest power with the teal colored dome, and the kicker light is also a gridded strip box Digibee DB800 with the orange dome on there as a little kicker. So that's pretty much it. All right, so there you have it. That is using a video projector onto a white wall as an option for photography as a backdrop. So I had a lot of fun with this. I'm going to use it as another tool in my arsenal of projects for artistic photography, and hopefully you will too, or hopefully you were just inspired enough to go, hey, I might pursue that. But don't forget, get a used one. You don't need brand new. Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, eBay, scour those for a couple of projectors. Just key in on the lumens, and you don't need the most advanced projector, really. Hopefully you liked this video. If you have any questions at all, feel free to ask them below. Give me a thumbs up if you happen to like the video, and if you like this type of video and want to see some more, feel free to subscribe, and then you'll be notified whenever there's new videos that I produce. So hope you liked it, and thanks for watching.